13 Moon Goddess Podcast, Episode 8, Goddess Oshun. The theme is sweetness, abundance, and joy. I'm OMsGurl.
And I'm Aiah Zemira. Living activation. We're going to do EFT today, which stands for Emotional Freedom Technique, and then we'll be tapping through points in the body. So let's begin with tapping at the top of the head. Take a big, full, deep breath. Inhale in through the nose. Open the mouth. Exhale, sigh or sound it out. Tapping inside the eye. And I'm going to say some phrases, and you can repeat the phrases or you can adapt them as needed. So, everywhere I've been considered too soft. We want to release that. Tapping outside the eye. Everywhere I've been considered too soft. I want to release any emotions, any thoughts connected to that. Tapping on the cheekbone. Anywhere I've been considered too feminine. Taking a deep breath, inhaling in through the nose. Open the mouth, exhaling your sigh, sound it out. Tapping underneath the nose. Everywhere I've been dismissed for being a woman. Too soft, too feminine, too emotional. Tapping the chin. Everywhere I've been dismissed for being a woman. Too soft, too feminine, too emotional. Tapping the collarbone. Everywhere as a woman, I've been underappreciated. Everywhere I've been undervalued. I release. I release. I release. Tapping under the arm. Everywhere I've been dismissed for being a woman. Too soft. Too feminine. Too emotional. Tapping the rib cage. Everywhere as a woman, I've been underappreciated, undervalued. Tapping the hip bone. Taking a deep breath, inhaling in through the nose. Open the mouth, sigh or sound it out. Just repeating, I release. I release. I release. Going back to the top of the head. Everywhere I had pushed and forced and had to work so hard. Tapping inside the eye. Everywhere I worked so hard to the point of depletion and burnout. Tapping outside the eye. I release. I release. I release. Tapping that cheekbone. Everywhere I pushed. Everywhere I forced. Everywhere I tried to make it happen, control it to the point of working too hard, to the point of depletion, to the point of burnout. Tapping underneath the nose. Taking a deep breath, inhaling in through the nose. Opening the mouth, sigh, and exhale it out. Tapping the chin and repeating, I release. I release. I release. Tapping the collarbone. Everywhere I felt I had to work so hard. And work and work and work and work. And I felt like in order to get anywhere, I had to work even harder. Underneath the arm, I became depleted, burned out, exhausted, tired. Tapping the rib cage. And it didn't work. It did not work. This did not work for me. Tapping the hip bone and repeating, I release. I release. I release. And now that we've released, let's go to the top of the head and we're going to activate. This is where we come to our inner Oshun. And we wanted to clear out that negativity and the things standing in our way. And we're just going to say, I activate. I activate. I activate. Tapping inside the eye. And I embrace. I embrace. I embrace. Tapping outside the eye. I embrace being a woman. I embrace my softness. I embrace my joy. Tapping on the cheekbone. I embrace my capacity to receive. I embrace my capacity to receive. I embrace my capacity to receive. Tapping under the nose, and I activate. I activate. I activate. Tapping the chin and taking a deep breath, inhaling in through the nose. Open the mouth, sigh and sound it out. Letting that breath help you move that energy, allowing the tapping to move that energy. Tapping underneath, tapping the collarbone. I embrace my sweetness. I embrace my abundance. Tapping underneath the arm. I embrace my sweetness. I embrace my abundance. Tapping on the rib cage. I embrace the lushness of life. I embrace the lushness of life. And I receive my harvest. I am open to receiving. I love my sweetness. I love my joy. I love my softness. And lastly, tap that hip bone. I embrace myself. I embrace myself. I embrace myself. Let's take one more deep breath together. Inhale in through the nose. Open the mouth. Exhale, sigh and sound it out. That was beautiful.
Act 1. You can't force what requires flow. Oshun is one of the goddesses from the Orishas. The Orishas are revered spiritual beings in the Yoruba, which originate in Africa Caribbean, and Latin America. In the Yoruba mythology, the Orisha men gather and bring structure, strength, strategy, logic, intelligence, and hard work. Oshun is dismissed because she's embodied in her femininity, softness, and beauty. They try to move forward without her, but despite all their effort, nothing grows. Flowers forget to bloom, the rivers dry up, the land becomes barren, the waters stagnant, the crops become infertile. No matter how hard the Orisha men work, no matter how strong they are, no matter how hard they push, life refuses to flourish.
Act 2. The men change and she returns. At this point, the Orisha men are stuck in their toxic masculinity. They think they can do it all on their own, with force, and without her feminine nature. Even though the Orisha men are constantly striving in productivity, in control, still something lacks. Like a river, we don't need to force our way through life to create lasting change. These Orisha men become aware that their efforts are not working because they finally notice that their surroundings are severely depleted. It is necessary for them to invite Oshun back into the creative process. When we welcome our inner Oshun, we reclaim our softness, joy, creativity, intuition, and the capacity to receive. And life begins to grow and be sustainable.
Act 3. She brings the waters, he brings the land, and she brings the flow. He brings the banks, together they form the river. She brings the waves, depth, and intuition. He brings the power. Together they form the expansion for the vastness of the oceans. She brings the sunflowers. He brings the sun. Together they grow and shine. She attracts the honeybee. He cultivates the fertile crops. Together they harvest honey, fruits, and vegetables. She brings the abundant nature, and he brings the stable ground. Together they form prosperous land. She brings the sweet nectar. He tends to the soil. Together they enjoy the nourishing, lush, blooming fruits, flowers, and gardens. So for our living embodiment, we have been using a song with Oshun and Shango. And so because of copywriting, we're not going to use that, but you will find that song in the show notes and also in our Sovereign Sisterhood space, which is, you will find the link to that Sovereign Sisterhood space on our 13 Moon Goddess page. And so you can follow us there and message us. So I'm going to take us through a chakra alignment and focusing a bit more on the solar plex. So normally the first 3 chakras are considered a bit more active and masculine in that directness and active, but because the solar plex from the Western perspective is yellow, we want to focus on that self, the abundance, the joy, and that pleasure. So we're going to spend a little bit more time there. So I welcome you and invite you to close your eyes. And we're going to go about 5 inches below the belly button. You can put your hand there where the root chakra begins, that energy center that connects us to the ground, to the root, also known as Muladhara, at the base of the spine, where we connect with safety, survival, and feeling grounded. So here we can visualize a red lotus with a few petals, and in the middle of that lotus, there's the red energy that is moving clockwise. And we are connecting with that safety, with that survival, with that feeling grounded and connected to our body and to the earth. Then we are going to move up a few inches to the sacral chakra. So you can put your hand a few inches above the root, just below the belly button. So this is known as Svadhisthana. And you can, with this chakra, connect with the feeling of joy and creation and with our energy to be able to create. So we are going to visualize an orange lotus that has about 8 petals. And in the middle, there's an orange color, an orange energy. And we're going to visualize it moving clockwise, connecting with feeling that creation and feeling that joy. And then we're going to move to the chakra, the energy center that we're going to spend a little more time, the solar plex. So this is the stomach area, also known as Manipura. And we are connecting here with our personal power, with our confidence, also with our joy, with our pleasure, with abundance. So here we see a beautiful yellow lotus in the middle, a bright yellow energy, and it's moving from the stomach area back through our body, the back body, and really this bright light is emanating outwards from the back and from the front. So many feet ahead, like 10 feet ahead in front of us and 10 feet behind us. And we are connecting with this beautiful yellow energy, this personal power, this abundance that lives within us. And that we have this confidence and that we have this personal power and that we have and are and be this beautiful yellow light and this energy. We have that sweetness from the honeybee. We have that sweetness from the sunflowers, all of that relationship that we have to these beautiful external, that really we get to create that connection and that personal power. And again, that abundance and confidence and joy. So we are really, really enjoying this with that yellow brightness that is emanating from our stomach outward, 10 feet in front of us and 10 feet behind us. Next, we're going to move to the heart chakra. So right at the center of the chest. This is the anahata. And here we are connecting with love, with kindness, and with connection. And this is also the chakra that connects the masculine and the feminine, or the direct and indirect, the connection between the softness and the hard, or again, the direct or indirect, the passive and direct, the yin and the yang. And so with the heart chakra, we are connecting with the love internally and externally, with the kindness internally and externally. And we see a big green lotus here. And here there are about 15 to 16 petals. And in the middle of that lotus, there's a green energy, a green light. And we are visualizing it moving clockwise. Next, we're moving to our throat chakra. Here is the Vishuddha, the throat area, connecting with our truth, speaking our truth. Here we have a blue lotus with about 24 different petals. And in the middle of the throat chakra, we see a blue energy, a blue color, and we visualize it moving clockwise, connecting with speaking our truth. Next, we move to the third eye, the ajna, between the eyebrows, connecting us with our intuition, our focus, our mind's eye. And here we visualize a purple, from the Western perspective, lotus with 50 different petals. And in the middle, we see this bright purple energy, light, And we visualize it moving clockwise, connecting us stronger with our intuition, with our focus, with our mind's eye. And then for the main chakras, we're going to put our hand just on the top of our head on our crown chakra, the Sahasrara. And so we are going to connect with spirituality, our connection to spirit, our connection with wisdom, with our highest self. And here there's a white lotus with 1,000 different petals. And at the center is this bright white light, connecting us with spirit, with our wisdom, and our highest self. And it's moving clockwise. And then we can bring that white light from the crown chakra. We can use both our hands and just wash over all of our chakras, all of our energy centers, the front and the back, and all around us with this beautiful, pure white light to know going forward we are protected and we get to move forward with that connection with our solar plex, with the abundance, with the joy, and with pleasure of Oshun. I am the goddess. I am sweetness, abundance, and joy.
I am the goddess. I am sweetness, abundance, and joy.